Long before cities, before humanity, before even the dinosaurs we know so well, there was another world. A world beneath the waves. It is the dawn of the Mesozoic era, nearly 250 million years ago. The Earth looks both familiar and alien. All the land masses of our planet are fused together into one great continent. Pangaea, a vast, dry superland surrounded by endless oceans. The air is warmer than today. The winds are different. The seas roll across coastlines that no human eye will ever see. And within those waters lies a mystery, a secret waiting to awaken. For not long before this time, life itself had nearly vanished. The Permian extinction, the greatest catastrophe our planet has ever known, wiped out over 90% of species. The oceans were emptied, their once vibrant ecosystems silenced. But life always finds a way back. And in these silent seas, new shapes are stirring. At first, the waters are quiet, filled mostly with small fish and drifting ammonites, their spiral shells gleaming like tiny moons beneath the waves. Yet, from the shorelines, creatures of the land begin to slip into the water. Reptiles who find in the ocean both danger and opportunity. They are not yet masters of this domain, awkward swimmers, their bodies still clumsy. But across millions of years, they will change. They will evolve. And soon, one group among them will take on a form so perfect for the sea, so swift and sleek, that they will rise as the sea dragons of the ancient world. We call them Ichthyosaurs, fish lizards. A name that captures both their reptilian heritage and their mastery of the waves. For generations, people who stumbled upon their fossils imagined monsters, dragons, or even evidence of biblical floods. To those early eyes, these creatures seemed more myth than reality. But the truth, as we will discover, is even more extraordinary. Ichthyosaurs were real. They hunted. They gave birth. They grew to sizes that rival modern whales. And they ruled the oceans for more than 150 million years. As we open this time capsule of Earth's history, we will drift alongside them. We will follow their journey from humble beginnings to oceanic supremacy. We will watch them rise as predators, care for their young, and eventually fade into extinction. But for now, let us simply drift here at the threshold of their story. The water is calm, the world is young, and the sea dragons are about to awaken. The story of the Ichthyosaurs begins in the shadows of the greatest extinction the world has ever known. The oceans, once nearly empty, are filling again with new life. Tiny fish dart through shallow waters. Coiled ammonites drift gracefully, their spiral shells catching the sunlight from above. The seas are slowly healing, but they are also waiting. Along the coastlines of the Triassic world, strange reptiles stir. Their ancestors were creatures of the land, four-legged walkers who once basked in the sun and hunted on solid ground. But now, some of their descendants have taken a different path. They have slipped into the water, searching for food, searching for survival. At first, they are clumsy swimmers. Their bodies, built for walking, are not yet suited for the sea. They paddle awkwardly with limbs that still resemble legs. Their tails sway more like lizards than fish. But the ocean is generous to those who adapt. And over countless generations, these reptiles begin to change. Imagine one of the earliest known ichthyosaurs, Keohurus. Small by later standards, only a few feet long, with a body that still shows its connection to the land. Its limbs are halfway between legs and flippers, hinting at the great transformation yet to come. It is not fast, not yet, but it has found a new niche. It hunts small prey in shallow waters, carving out the first chapter of a dynasty that will last for millions of years. The oceans nurture this experiment, and slowly, the ichthyosaurs become more than just reptiles who live near the shore. They become true creatures of the sea. Over time, their bodies grow sleek. Their tails flatten into powerful rudders. Their legs shrink into firm, paddle-like flippers. No longer clumsy, they glide with ease. The land is forgotten, their ties to it severed forever. And with this change, the ichthyosaurs claim their place. No longer awkward intruders, they are becoming rulers of their domain. But even in these early days, they are not small. Some grow larger, stretching nearly as long as a human, and soon larger still. the foundations of giants are being laid. From these humble beginnings in the early Triassic, a path is set, one that will lead to enormous predators that rival whales in size. The ichthyosaurs are not just survivors of a mass extinction. They are pioneers, the first great lords of the Mesozoic seas. And as their forms perfect themselves for speed and power, the ocean will never be the same again. To understand the ichthyosaurs, we must first look closely at what made them so perfectly adapted for life in the ocean. Because these were no ordinary reptiles. They were shaped by millions of years of evolution, refined again and again by the tides and the currents, until their bodies became masterpieces of design. Picture one now, drifting through the blue waters of the Triassic Sea. Its body is long and sleek, tapering into a crescent-shaped tail that slices the water with ease. It moves not with the side-to-side wriggle of a lizard, but with the swift, rhythmic power of a fish. Every part of its form whispers of speed, agility, and grace. At the front is the head, long, narrow, and armed with jaws lined with sharp, conical teeth. These teeth are not meant for chewing, but for gripping slippery prey. Fish, squid, and ammonites stood little chance once trapped within those jaws. And then there are the eyes. Enormous, round, and gleaming, they are some of the largest eyes ever found in the animal kingdom. In life, they would have shone like dark lanterns, perfect for peering into the dim twilight of the deep sea. Even today, their fossilized eye sockets amaze scientists with their size. It is as though the ichthyosaurs carried searchlights within their skulls, giving them a hunter's advantage in the dark. Along their sides, the limbs that once carried their ancestors on land have become flippers. Short, paddle-shaped, and powerful, these flippers do not propel the ichthyosaur forward, but they guide it. They act like the wings of a bird, offering control and balance in the water. With them, the ichthyosaur could twist, turn, and dive with astonishing precision. And then there is the tail. Unlike the flapping motions of turtles or the undulating strokes of crocodiles, ichthyosaurs evolved something more advanced. A strong, vertical tail fin, not unlike that of a shark. It is here that their true power lies, driving them forward with each graceful flick. Their skin, we now believe, was smooth and sleek, covered not with scales but with a texture more like that of dolphins or whales. This streamlined surface reduced drag, allowing them to cut through the water with minimal resistance. In every way, their anatomy echoes that of creatures we know today. Dolphins, tuna, and even some sharks share this same torpedo-like design. Different in ancestry, but united by the demands of the sea. It is a powerful lesson of evolution, that when life seeks speed and survival in the water, it finds the same elegant solutions again and again. But ichthyosaurs were not all the same. Some had longer, needle-like jaws, perfect for catching small, darting fish. Others had shorter, stronger skulls, designed to crush the hard shells of ammonites. And as the millions of years passed, they grew into an astonishing range of shapes and sizes. Yet, despite their variety, all shared this same unmistakable form. The sleek body, the vast eyes, the flippers that guided, the tail that powered, each part working in harmony to create the sea dragon's perfect silhouette. Imagine it now, gliding effortlessly through the water, its body moving with liquid grace. Silent, except for the rush of water against its skin. Eyes scanning the darkness, jaws ready to strike. The ichthyosaur, a predator, a traveler, a marvel of design. The ichthyosaurs were not just swimmers of the ancient seas. They were hunters. Predators built for pursuit, speed, and precision. Beneath the rolling waves of the Triassic and Jurassic oceans, life was plentiful. Schools of fish shimmered like living silver, flashing as they darted through the light. Ammonites, with their coiled shells, drifted in great swarms, rising and falling with the currents. Soft-bodied squid flitted through the dark, trailing their tentacles behind them. And it was among these creatures that the ichthyosaurs found their prey. Their hunting style was one of elegance. Unlike the snapping jaws of crocodiles or the ambush tactics of sharks, the ichthyosaur hunted with speed. With each flick of its crescent tail, it closed the distance between itself and its quarry. The great eyes locked onto the target, sharp and unyielding, even in the dimmest waters. And then, with jaws agape, rows of sharp, conical teeth clamped down, securing the wriggling catch in a grip that few victims ever escaped. Their diet was varied. Some species favored small, darting fish. Others specialized in squid, whose soft bodies left little trace in the fossil record, yet whose presence is betrayed by the beak-like remains sometimes found within ichthyosaur stomachs. And still others tackled ammonites, their jaws strong enough to crack open the spiral shells that littered the seafloor. In some fossil sites, we can still see the shadows of their last meals. Fish bones, squid hooks, and broken ammonite shells preserved within their ribcages, snapshots of their lives, frozen for all time. But ichthyosaurs were not only hunters of small prey. Some species grew large enough to challenge bigger creatures. A swift strike from a giant ichthyosaur could have ended the life of a smaller marine reptile. These sea dragons, after all, were not always gentle. The ancient oceans were arenas of survival, where size, speed, and sharpness often decided who lived and who perished. And yet, despite their power, ichthyosaurs were not reckless killers. They were part of the delicate balance of their world. Predators, yes, but also guardians of equilibrium. They kept fish populations in check, shaped the swarms of ammonites, and played their part in the eternal cycle of predator and prey. There are whispers, too, of something even more fascinating. Some scientists believe that ichthyosaurs may have hunted not only with sight, but with sound. Like dolphins or whales today, they may have used clicks or vibrations to detect prey in the murky dark. Though this idea remains debated, it is a tantalizing vision, sea dragons calling through the depths, listening for echoes that revealed hidden life. Imagine it now. A school of fish scatters in panic as a shadow sweeps past. The water stirs with sudden motion, scales glittering like stars in the deep. And then, with breathtaking speed, the ichthyosaur strikes. A flash of teeth, a swirl of bubbles, and silence once more. For over 100 million years, the ichthyosaurs hunted the oceans. From the smallest species, no larger than a child, to the giants that rivaled whales, they shaped their world with every chase, every strike, every meal. In their time, they were the ocean's apex hunters, swift, silent, and supreme. Not all ichthyosaurs were small and swift. Some grew into giants, creatures so vast that they rival the largest animals ever to live in the ocean. Among them was Shawnosaurus. Its name comes from the Shoshone Mountains of Nevada, where its fossils were first discovered. And it was enormous. Stretching more than 50 feet from snout to tail, Shawnosaurus was as long as a city bus, its body a living submarine gliding through the Mesozoic seas. Picture it. A sleek titan, its flippers beating slowly, its great tail slicing the water with measured power. It is not a fast hunter like its smaller cousins. Instead, it moves with a steady, majestic rhythm, like a whale crossing an endless ocean. But Shawnosaurus was not alone in its grandeur. There was also Shastasaurus, discovered in California and named after Mount Shasta. Some of its species may have reached 70 feet in length, even larger than Shawnosaurus. Unlike many ichthyosaurs, Shastasaurus had no sharp, cutting teeth. Its jaws were long and toothless, suggesting a very different way of feeding. Perhaps it sucked soft-bodied prey like squid directly into its mouth, drawing them in with powerful gulps of water. An ancient parallel to how modern whales feed today. These giants were gentle in appearance compared to the sharp-toothed hunters of earlier ages. Their massive size allowed them to dominate their environment, safe from most predators. Few creatures dared challenge a beast of such magnitude. Imagine drifting beneath the waves as one of these titans passes overhead. Its shadow darkens the water, blotting out the light. Its body, vast and graceful, moves with a calm authority. It does not need to rush. It simply exists, the embodiment of power, scale, and adaptation. And there were others, too, ichthyosaurs of varying shapes and sizes, some nearly as massive, each filling its role in the great web of the ocean. Together, they remind us that ichthyosaurs were not just hunters, but an entire dynasty of creatures, from the small and swift to the gigantic and serene. The giants tell us something profound about the seas of the Mesozoic. They reveal an ocean rich enough, fertile enough, to sustain predators of unimaginable size, where swarms of fish and cephalopods provided a feast that could nourish leviathans for millions of years. In their time, these colossal ichthyosaurs were the undisputed rulers of the deep. And though they are gone, their bones remain, silent monuments of an age when dragons truly swam in the seas. In the story of the ichthyosaurs, there is a chapter that feels almost miraculous. For while they began as reptiles of the land, tied to the shore, they did something extraordinary. They severed that bond completely. They gave birth in the water. Most reptiles of today, from lizards to turtles, must crawl onto land to lay their eggs. Even sea turtles, who spend almost all their lives in the ocean, still return to sandy beaches to bury their fragile clutches in the warm sun. But ichthyosaurs chose a different path. They bore their young alive, fully formed, into the sea itself. The evidence lies in stone. Fossils have been found with tiny ichthyosaur skeletons preserved within the body of the mother. And in some cases, the fossil shows a baby caught mid-birth, its small head emerging from the mother's body, frozen in the act for more than 200 million years. It is one of the most intimate and powerful glimpses into prehistoric life that we possess. Imagine it now. A mother ichthyosaur hovers in the safety of shallow waters. Her body shifts, her flippers beat gently as the first of her young emerges. A small, streamlined creature slips into the water, already prepared for its new world. Unlike many modern reptiles, ichthyosaurs did not abandon their young at birth. Instead, these babies were born ready, able to swim, to breathe, to survive. It is likely that mothers sought calmer waters for this moment, away from the dangers of the open ocean. Here, in the quiet shallows, newborns could take their first strokes without immediately facing predators of the deep. Perhaps, as with whales and dolphins today, mothers even formed small groups, a kind of nursery pod where young ichthyosaurs could grow together, protected by the watchful presence of adults. This adaptation, live birth in the ocean, freed the ichthyosaurs from the limits of the land. They no longer needed to drag their bodies ashore, no longer relied on fragile eggs or sandy beaches. The ocean was not just their hunting ground. It was their home, their nursery, their entire world. And so, from generation to generation, the ichthyosaurs passed on their legacy. A legacy of survival, of mastery, of belonging fully to the sea. If the ichthyosaurs gave birth at sea, then somewhere in those ancient oceans, there must have been nurseries. Quiet havens where mothers gathered, and where the next generation of sea dragons took their first breaths. We cannot know the exact details. No human eye ever witnessed these scenes. But the fossils whisper hints of what may have been. In certain places, entire clusters of ichthyosaur remains have been found, as though many lived and died together. These sites suggest that ichthyosaurs may not have lived solitary lives. They may have traveled in groups, pods that mirrored the societies of dolphins and whales today. Picture it, a shallow lagoon, warmed by the Mesozoic sun. The waters are calmer here than in the vast open seas. Sheltered coves provide safety from the largest predators. And into this nursery, a group of ichthyosaurs glide, mothers heavy with young, others swimming watchfully at their sides. One by one, the mothers give birth. Tiny ichthyosaurs slip into the water, wriggling instinctively toward the surface for their first breath. Their eyes are already wide and bright, their flippers already steady enough to guide them. These babies are miniature sea dragons, born ready to swim, hunt, and survive. Perhaps they remained close to their mothers in those first days. Perhaps the pods swam slowly, encircling the young, protecting them from lurking dangers. The fossil record cannot tell us for certain, but the possibility is strong. For in the modern world, dolphins and whales, mammals who followed a similar evolutionary path from land to sea, show us what is possible. And evolution often finds the same solutions to the same challenges. Imagine the nursery pod gliding together. Young ichthyosaurs dart and play in the shallows, learning to chase small fish, learning to use their sleek tails. Adults swim in wide arcs around them, guardians against danger. The waters are alive with motion, yet peaceful, safe, and full of promise. These nurseries may have been the cradle of ichthyosaur life for millions of years. Generation after generation, Mothers returned to safe waters, birthing their young, guiding them until they could venture into the wide oceans beyond. It is a vision of family, of continuity, of sea dragons not only as hunters, but as parents, as caretakers, as members of a society as complex as the oceans themselves. The ichthyosaurs were not a single kind of creature. Over millions of years, they evolved into a remarkable variety of shapes and sizes, each uniquely suited to its place in the ocean. From the tiniest hunters darting after fish, to the colossal giants cruising through deep waters, their forms tell a story of adaptation, experimentation, and survival. Some species had long, narrow snouts filled with needle-like teeth. These were the swift, precise hunters, snapping up small fish and squid with incredible accuracy. Their bodies were streamlined for speed, built to chase down prey through open waters. Others had shorter, more robust skulls, with fewer, sturdier teeth. These ichthyosaurs specialized in crushing ammonite shells or other hard-shelled creatures. Their design was less about speed, more about power and precision, a living toolkit shaped by millions of years of evolution. Some grew massive, like the giants we met in the previous chapter. Others remained small, agile, and quick. Each species carved out a niche, ensuring that the oceans could support them all, without direct competition for the same resources. Even their tails and flippers varied. Some had deeply forked tails for rapid bursts of speed. Others had broader, more paddle-like tails for steady cruising in deep waters. Their flippers adapted to their hunting style, to their size, and to the currents of the seas they called home. This incredible variety shows that ichthyosaurs were more than just sea dragons. They were an entire family of creatures, each member a unique solution to the challenges of ocean life. And yet, despite their differences, they all share the unmistakable silhouette of the ichthyosaur, a torpedo-shaped body, a long, elegant snout, and the unmistakable rhythm of a tail moving through water. Imagine, for a moment, gliding above a Mesozoic ocean. Below you, a group of ichthyosaurs sweeps through the waves. Some are small and darting, others large and imposing. Each moves in its own way, yet all are united by purpose, by evolution, by the need to survive. This diversity, this range of forms, is what allowed ichthyosaurs to thrive for more than 150 million years. Through climate changes, shifting seas, and the rise of new competitors, they adapted. They survived, evolved, and flourished. They were the masters of their domain, not by being identical, but by being diverse, versatile, and endlessly inventive. And so, the ocean of the Mesozoic was never monotonous. It was filled with shapes, sizes, and strategies, a living kaleidoscope of life in motion. The ichthyosaurs remind us that survival is not just about strength, but about the brilliance of variation, the beauty of adaptation, and the endless possibilities of evolution. The oceans of the Mesozoic were vast and full of life, but they were not peaceful. Even the powerful ichthyosaurs had to share their world with other marine predators, creatures equally adapted to the depths, equally hungry, and equally cunning. Among these rivals were the plesiosaurs, with long necks and small heads, gliding silently through the water in search of fish. Unlike ichthyosaurs, they relied on stealth and reach rather than speed. A plesiosaur could sweep its long neck through a school of fish, snatching prey from a distance, while the ichthyosaur chased with powerful bursts of speed. Then there were the pliosaurs, short-necked and robust, with massive jaws capable of crushing almost anything in their path. Some grew so large that even the biggest ichthyosaurs would have to think twice before confronting them. These were apex predators in their own right, filling the oceans with an ever-present tension, a reminder that survival in the sea was never guaranteed. Mosasaurs arrived later, in the late Cretaceous, dominating parts of the seas with their serpentine bodies and powerful tails. By this time, many ichthyosaurs were already declining, and the oceans were changing. Still, for millions of years, the ichthyosaurs had ruled alongside, competed with, and outlasted most rivals. Despite this competition, ichthyosaurs were masters of adaptation. Some species became faster, sleeker, more efficient hunters. Others grew larger to deter predators. Some specialized in hunting prey that others ignored, carving niches that allowed multiple predators to coexist. Imagine an ancient seascape. A group of ichthyosaurs slices through the waves, chasing fish. A plesiosaur glides just beyond the reef, its long neck sweeping the water. A pliosaur looms in the distance, moving like a shadow, watching, waiting. The ocean is alive with strategy, tension, and movement, a delicate balance maintained by evolution over millions of years. This rivalry reminds us that the seas were not empty stages for a single creature. They were arenas of competition, collaboration, and coexistence. Each predator influenced the other, shaping the evolution of speed, strength, and cunning. Through this intricate dance of survival, the ichthyosaurs flourished, honed by both the bounty and the danger of their environment. And yet, even with rivals, ichthyosaurs remained iconic. The sea dragons, swift and elegant, ruling the waves not just by size or strength, but by their remarkable ability to adapt and survive. To understand ichthyosaurs fully, we must step back and look at the world they called home. The Mesozoic oceans were vast, warm, and alive in ways that our modern seas can barely imagine. The continents were arranged differently than they are today. The supercontinent Pangaea was slowly breaking apart, forming shallow seas, new coastlines, and long stretches of open ocean. Warm currents swept across the globe, carrying nutrients and shaping the distribution of life. The seas were filled with life, both small and large. Schools of fish shimmered beneath the sunlight, their scales reflecting the colors of the sky. Ammonites floated in spiral shells like tiny spacecraft, drifting gracefully in the currents. Squid and other cephalopods darted through the water, always alert, always moving. Coral reefs had begun to form in some areas, providing shelter and feeding grounds for countless species. These structures were the cities of the ancient oceans, bustling, intricate, and alive with motion. It was an age before humans, before even most dinosaurs had walked the land. The oceans were ruled by reptiles, and the ichthyosaurs were among the most successful. They moved through a world of abundance and danger, shaped by shifting currents, changing sea levels, and the constant presence of both prey and predator. Temperature and climate played a critical role. The waters were warmer than today, supporting creatures that would struggle to survive in modern seas. This warmth allowed ichthyosaurs and other reptiles to be active hunters year-round, with no long winters to slow their metabolism. Imagine gliding above the ancient ocean. Beneath the surface, life thrums with activity. Reefs teem with color and motion. Schools of fish scatter as shadows pass. Ammonites spiral gracefully in the currents. And among them all, ichthyosaurs swim with effortless elegance, moving as though the ocean itself has molded them for their place in this ancient world. This was a world of balance. Every predator had prey, every hunter faced rivals, and every creature found a niche in the vast tapestry of life. The ichthyosaurs thrived here not only because of their adaptations, but because the oceans themselves were a generous, dynamic stage, one that allowed them to evolve, hunt, reproduce, and reign for millions of years. In understanding this world, we understand the ichthyosaurs better. We see not just the creatures themselves, but the environment that nurtured them, challenged them, and ultimately defined their existence. The ichthyosaurs we admire today are more than just ancient creatures. They are messengers from a time long before humans existed, preserved in stone for millions of years. Fossil time travelers. The story of their discovery begins in the early 19th century along the rocky coasts of England. Fossil hunters and curious collectors unearthed strange, elongated bones and skulls. At first, many of these remains were misunderstood. Some thought they were crocodiles. Others imagined dragons, sea serpents, or creatures lost to legend. One name stands out in the history of ichthyosaur discovery: Mary Anning. A young woman from Lyme Regis, she spent her days scouring the cliffs for fossils. Her keen eyes and careful hands revealed some of the most remarkable finds of the time. Mary Anning discovered nearly complete ichthyosaur skeletons, fossils so well preserved that scientists could study their bodies, their teeth, and even hints of their internal organs. These fossils opened a window into the ancient oceans. They allowed scientists to reconstruct the ichthyosaur's body, understand its anatomy, and imagine how it lived, hunted, and swam. Through her work, Mary Anning changed paleontology forever, proving that even the smallest, most dedicated observer could unlock the secrets of a vanished world. Fossils can tell us even more. Some ichthyosaur specimens preserve stomach contents, showing what these predators ate. Others reveal embryos inside the mother's body, offering a glimpse of birth beneath the waves. And some are so complete that the skeletons look almost lifelike, as if the ichthyosaur had only just drifted into a quiet, eternal sleep. Imagine holding one of these fossils. A bone, a tooth, a fragment of flipper. Through it, you are connected to a creature that swam in oceans no human will ever see. You are touching history itself, millions of years old, yet present in your hand. The ichthyosaurs are, in a sense, storytellers. They tell us about survival after extinction, about adaptation, about life in the oceans long before we existed. They are reminders of Earth's vast history, of creatures who lived, thrived, and disappeared, leaving only stone as a testament to their existence. And through these fossils, we can imagine them once more. We can see them glide through the waves, hunt in the depths, and care for their young. In this way, they travel through time, from the ancient oceans of the Mesozoic to our own modern curiosity, silent, graceful, and eternal. Every creature leaves a mark on the world, but few are remembered as vividly as the ichthyosaurs. Their story, frozen in stone, begins at the end of life, in death beneath the waves. When an ichthyosaur died, its body sank to the ocean floor. In the warm, shallow seas of the Mesozoic, currents and scavengers quickly claimed soft tissues. Yet, in certain conditions, death became preservation. Some ichthyosaurs were buried rapidly under layers of sediment, mud, silt, or sand that sealed them away from decay. In this quiet, suffocating blanket of stone, the body was protected from scavengers and oxygen. Over time, minerals seeped in, replacing organic matter and turning bones, teeth, and even sometimes soft tissues into rock. The ichthyosaur became a fossil, a permanent time capsule from an ocean long gone. Fossil graveyards, like those found in Holzmaden, Germany, reveal entire communities of ichthyosaurs. Some appear to have died together, perhaps victims of sudden storms, oxygen depletion, or environmental catastrophe. Here, their skeletons lie curled, flippers folded, tails bent, frozen moments of life turned to stone. Through them, paleontologists glimpse both the form and the story of these ancient creatures. Even in death, ichthyosaurs reveal their secrets. Stomach contents show what they ate. Embryos inside the mother's body reveal how they gave birth. The positions of the bones suggest swimming style, posture, and movement. Every fossil is a whisper from the past, telling a story millions of years old. Imagine the calm of the ocean floor, long ago. An ichthyosaur glides in the twilight, hunts for squid or fish, drifts past reefs alive with motion. And then, quietly, life ends. Its body sinks into silence. But in this silence, a new form of immortality begins. Through millions of years, pressure and time compress layers of sediment into stone. Chemical processes replace bone with mineral, and slowly, the ichthyosaur transforms into a lasting relic. It is death, yes, but also preservation, a chance to speak across the ages. And when we uncover these fossils today, we are not simply finding bones. We are opening letters written by nature, addressed across deep time. Each discovery allows us to imagine the ichthyosaur's life anew, to watch it hunt, swim, and survive in oceans that no human has ever seen. In this way, death itself becomes part of the story, a bridge that carries these sea dragons from the Mesozoic to our imagination, eternal in stone. Even the mightiest rulers of the oceans cannot swim forever. For more than 150 million years, ichthyosaurs thrived, evolved, and dominated the seas. But time is relentless, and even the great sea dragons faced a world in change. By the late Cretaceous, the oceans were no longer as they once were. New predators had arisen. Mosasaurs, swift and powerful, ruled portions of the seas with serpentine grace. Shifting climates altered ocean currents, temperatures, and the availability of prey. Some species of ichthyosaurs, once common and abundant, began to dwindle. The giants that had ruled in majesty now faced a world that demanded adaptation, faster hunting, new strategies, or movement to different waters. But evolution has limits, and for some ichthyosaurs, the challenges were insurmountable. Slowly, species vanished. One by one, the sea dragons disappeared, leaving the oceans quieter than they had been for millions of years. Yet, their extinction was not sudden. It was a gradual fading, a gentle retreat from the stage of life. By the time the dinosaurs on land faced their own cataclysm, most ichthyosaurs had already vanished. The oceans had moved on, filled with new creatures, new forms, and new rulers. We may wonder why they disappeared. Was it competition from new marine reptiles? Was it changing ocean conditions or dwindling prey? Or perhaps a combination of many forces, a perfect storm of environmental and ecological pressures? The truth may never be fully known. But in their decline, the ichthyosaurs leave a lesson that even the most successful creatures are bound to the tides of change. Imagine the last of the ichthyosaurs swimming alone beneath the waves. Once, the seas had been alive with their kin, pods and nurseries filling shallow waters with life and motion. Now, silence surrounds them, broken only by the occasional flick of a tail or the distant shimmer of fish. The great sea dragons fade from memory, leaving behind only the traces preserved in stone. And yet, even in extinction, they leave a legacy. Their fossils, their stories, and their very existence remind us of evolution's power, of adaptation, of life's fragile, beautiful persistence. The sea dragons may have disappeared, but they are not forgotten. Through the rocks, the sediment, and the echoes of history, they continue to teach us about survival, change, and the majesty of the oceans that once belonged to them. Though the ichthyosaurs disappeared from the oceans millions of years ago, their legacy lingers in ways both subtle and profound. They were not merely creatures of their time, they were teachers, showing us what it means to adapt, survive, and thrive in a changing world. Their streamlined bodies, perfected for speed and agility, offer a glimpse into the art of evolution. Look closely, and you will see echoes of ichthyosaurs in modern marine life. Dolphins, porpoises, and tuna share similar shapes and adaptations, convergent designs shaped by the relentless demands of life in water. Though unrelated by ancestry, these modern swimmers carry the lessons of the sea dragons, perfected anew. The ichthyosaurs also left a cultural legacy. From the earliest fossil discoveries, they sparked human imagination. Scientists and fossil hunters marveled at their forms, imagining dragons beneath the waves. Artists and storytellers have drawn inspiration from their sleek, powerful silhouettes, reminding us that the line between science and wonder is often thin. But perhaps the greatest legacy of the ichthyosaurs lies in what they teach us about life itself. For over 150 million years, they adapted to a world in constant motion. They gave birth in the ocean, perfected hunting strategies, and survived environmental changes that would have destroyed less versatile creatures. Yet even they could not withstand the ultimate challenges of extinction, showing us the delicate balance between life and environment, between adaptation and survival. Imagine drifting once more through the ancient seas. A pod of ichthyosaurs glides beneath your gaze, the water shimmering with their motion. Each flick of a tail, each careful sweep of a flipper, tells a story of resilience, of ingenuity, of life honed by millions of years of evolution. Even in absence, their forms still teach, inspire, and awe. And so, when we study fossils, when we imagine ancient oceans, when we let ourselves dream of creatures long gone, we honor their legacy. The ichthyosaurs remind us that life is powerful, fleeting, and endlessly inventive. Their story beneath the waves continues, not only in stone, but in every creature that swims with grace and efficiency today. In this way, the sea dragons of the past live on, eternal in the lessons they left for all who listen. As we drift back toward the present, it is time to reflect on the incredible journey of the ichthyosaurs, the sea dragons of the ancient oceans. From their earliest beginnings, small reptiles adapting to life in water, to the colossal giants gliding through Mesozoic seas, ichthyosaurs were masters of evolution. They hunted with precision, cared for their young, and thrived in a world both beautiful and dangerous. They ruled the oceans for millions of years, leaving behind traces of their existence in stone and memory. Yet, like all things in nature, their reign was not eternal. The oceans changed, new predators emerged, and the ichthyosaurs slowly faded from existence. But extinction is not the end of a story, it is a transformation. Through their fossils, they speak to us across the eons, whispering secrets of life long vanished. When we imagine the Mesozoic oceans, we see more than predators and prey. We see ecosystems in balance, creatures perfectly adapted, and a planet in motion. The ichthyosaurs, with their sleek bodies and enormous eyes, remind us that life is a journey of adaptation, a story written over millions of years. They also remind us of wonder. For the oceans they swam in are gone, their exact currents and creatures forever changed. Yet the essence of those seas survives in our imagination, in the thrill of discovery, the awe of fossils, and the quiet hum of history beneath the waves. Close your eyes and imagine a pod of ichthyosaurs gliding silently beneath the Mesozoic waves. The sunlight filters down through the water, illuminating their sleek forms. They move with grace, power, and serenity. In that moment, you are not merely an observer, you are part of their world, drifting alongside the sea dragons of the past. Though they vanished millions of years ago, the ichthyosaurs live on, in stone, in science, in stories, and in our hearts. The oceans remember them. The fossils remember them. And through our curiosity and imagination, we, too, remember. So, as the waters of history settle once more, let us leave the sea dragons where they belong, eternal, majestic, and timeless. The ichthyosaurs may have swum only in ancient oceans, but their spirit drifts forever through the currents of our minds, teaching us, inspiring us, and filling the world with awe. Good night, and may the sea dragons of the ancient world swim beside you in your dreams.